Hello. First of all, I hated the title so much. So it's cheesy. So I apologize for that. Our head of marketing just wanted to kind of push for it. So um, I am not here to actually like boast about what we have done so far. Like I think like all of us here who are here in the staking summit wants to learn about something. So let me quickly like introduce about A41 and then move on to, I would say a lot of us are in Asia right now, so like just share a little bit of insights into the Asian market as a validator so that everyone could take something away from the lesson except the fact that A41 has been doing well. Um, A41 was started as a research firm in 2021, and then we pivoted into a validator firm in 2022, May. We've done proof of concept from January to May, and then we decided that we could actually do well in the red ocean that a lot of the giants like Block Demon, like Figment, Killin, like P2P, and all these guys are at. Um, and 2022 October, we closed the seed round from multiple like conglomerates in Korea, and then we have been punching it like ever since then. We first reached our break-even point probably last November, December-ish, and then ever since then, I think we've been doing okay. And especially, I'm hoping for 3K above like ETH price so that I can actually take a break next year. But we'll see how it goes. Uh, in 2023 and 4, I think one of my focuses, or the largest focus was on actually brand building. I think there are a lot of validators who are popping up these days and spinning off. And there are also a lot of moves from big investment firms that are trying to internalize like validator arm as well. And the question that, if you're serious about this business, the question you're going to face is how do you reach the economy of scale? And from my point of view, the way that we try to reach it was through brand building. So by brand building, I kind of like thought of like validator business as more of a regional business. Unfortunately, like there are so many Western firms trying to like break into APAC, but I still believe that it's very regional, and that has been the genesis of our brand building exercise. And A41 tried to position itself first coming from our unique position as a Korean player, since we have the largest, probably one of the largest or the largest liquid market in crypto. We try to present ourselves to like foundation and investors that, hey, like we are going to become the largest validator in Korea, and we are the most crypto native player in Korea. So like trust us, like like collaborate with us, and I didn't want to make it an empty words, so we try to participate early in terms of a lot of the endeavors that protocols like Lido and everybody else was moving forward. So we participated really early in DVT area as well, like even though we were very small at the time. And there were multiple other efforts that we've been pushing, and we packaged it as like a brand building exercise, and basically pitched us every time single-handedly to like foundation and founders and investors, like every time I was going to like conference, and our business team as well. The regional part that I still think like from Korea to APAC, while 2023 was our brand building exercise focusing on, hey, we are the guys to talk to when you're coming to Korea, right? And then from there on, like we moved on to like positioning ourselves as the guys to talk to in the APAC region. And in order to do so, we started our own conference. We started off with the KBW's official infrastructure day in 2023 called All for Staking, and then in East Denver we did the stakeholder, and then we basically aggregated all the AVSs and the restaking players, and moved on to like rebranding our conference into something called EPOCH, EPOCH, and we did the conference once in Korea and another one in Singapore, just to set our foot in outside of Korea so that people can start feel like, oh, like A41 is just not limited in Korea, but it's actually in APAC as well. So with 2.5 years of like this brand building exercise, I think we've been pretty successful in terms of pushing ourselves, because validator business, in essence, at least for now, is B2B from my point of view. This may sound a little bit weird to like the validators who are poaching or who are trying to target the retails, but if you think about the TAM, and if you think about like the ROI, like that is coming from like going community model and then institutional foundation model, I think the answer is pretty clear. So I mean, it also like comes down to like what the founder of the validator is like. But if your forte is at brand building, like BD, I think at least the timing of the market right now is more for the validators is more focused on the B2B side. Harking back to regional, I'm so sorry, I'm just like going sideways so much. But going to the regional part, I think one thing that is really important for us to understand about the whole like market itself, I think in general, it's quite different from. I see a lot of the Western faces. I'm not trying to be racist here, but like the market is different, right? Like I would say, even though China, Japan, like Korea, and like these East Asian region, which is like the center of gravity for like the economy of Asia, like we all look the same to you guys, and we speak pretty much like similar language to you guys, even though it's not, because we don't understand each other at all. Culturally, if you look at these regions, we're so like separated, like we hate each other so much, and at the same time, like historically, we've been invading each other like so many times. Like there's like everybody is a victim to like each other. That is ingrained in our DNA so much. I think that is affecting like how the business is being done in general, not just in crypto. And if you acknowledge that, I think it applies to like even founders who are doing L1s and L2s as well. It's very different from how you approach the North American and also European market, because you have to like understand the people that you're touching. Because culturally, like for example, like China and Korea, maybe not Japan, but so much, but like China and Korea, like we are pretty similar in a way that everybody's jealous of each other. So like the first person, the first entity that you go to kind of dictates how your business is going to span out in the region. So if you chose the wrong person, you're likely going to like fall into the traps, because everybody's basically saying the same thing. Hey, we're gonna like help you become successful in terms of like the market. Like if you come to Korea, like if you come to China through us, you're gonna get this and that and that and that. But I think it's really important to like catch the signals that like through the conferences, like from the external point of view. So what I mean by this is let's say you're a founder based in New York City, and if you're trying to like find good people in New York, you just like ask your friends and that's it, right? Whereas like in Korea, like or like China or Hong Kong or like Singapore, you need to like go through multiple layers in order to do the reference check, and at the same time you need to see like who are actually the players that actually matter. Like, and also you wanna, because nobody's telling each other. Like let's say let's give an example. Like let's say Barachain wants to come to Korea, and let's say like Mega ETH is trying to come to Korea. Like nobody's telling like each other like hey, we're like siding with these players. So what you need to do is go to conferences, like go to like side events, and see like who's sponsoring what, and like how are these players kind of like involved with each other. By doing that, you can start seeing the signals. Is probably how you first approach the market, and then you need to spend, like if you're a founder, you want to spend some time outside of the crypto conference period, and then try to meet like local players as much as possible, like very condensed way, and then you like start match all the puzzles that you have, puzzle pieces. Usually like in the crypto conference period, like everybody's so friendly to each other in Asia Pacific region, like so like you will just think that, oh, like this guy has been so nice to me, like I'll go with these guys in terms of marketing, or I'll go with these guys for validator business, like as one of our validator sets. But it's crypto conference period, right? You need to like stick around and then see how that person or how that entity is treating you outside of the like conference period of time. Like because it's not alpha period for these guys. And if they're treating you right and then appropriately, I think you can start like thinking that player is actually thinking of you as more serious player, serious like a counterparty. So these like cultural differences like is something that you always want to like look into, and the code that you have used for Chinese market or Singaporean market will be different from the code that you're going to be using for Korean market or Japanese market. So if you're using the unilateral like strategy and like similar tactics like in the region, in each part of the region, like you're highly likely doing something wrong. So you might want to actually take a look back on that. Yeah, so that's the regional part. And I feel like infrastructure-wise, I think Asia Pacific has been shunned for a pretty long time. Like if you look at the ETH infra, like there are not that many players who are actually like providing like for instance like for validator business. A lot of the validators in APAC are actually not running nodes or in APAC. Surprisingly, we were trying to do otherwise. By doing so, that was adding more point to our brand, but it's very hard. But like if you're foundation like or founder, you must actually pay attention when you're selecting like node operators, like which region they're actually operating. Just because they're based, their office is based in Singapore or their office is based in Japan, they may not be actually running nodes in Japan or Singapore. So that's also another point that you might also want to take into account. Yeah, I guess, yeah, like I think they were giving me like 10 to 15 minutes. I think I'm running out of time, right? So, I mean, I can get to question or something like that, or just like barge into like how we became $2 billion, so we stick with us. But yeah, like if there's any question, just one or not, yeah. Just going back to A41's approach, I mean, if there are any other validators that are trying to spring up these days, or founders who are trying to find validators in the region, I think brand building and also enterprise sales, B2B sales, is very important in order to actually grow at this stage of the market. I think starting from next year and 2 years later, the more institutions will be coming in. But in Asian region, I would expect things will be way slower than the US or European market. So if you have a partner that is claiming that, oh, like we have this Asia, like traditional banks or like traditional like investor, like TradFi guys coming into like crypto next year, like highly likely not true. At least in Korea, like when I talk to like pension fund guys, they're talking about like 5 years later. And they are not even touching BTC yet. They're only dabbling with like Coinbase equity right now in the stock market. So when you're looking at the Asian market, like you have to separate between the retails and the TradFi guys like heavily, because retails like Asian market is driving for sure. But for like institutions and all these money that are sitting in the family offices or stuff like that, it's not moving that easily. And regulation-wise, every region, like from Singapore to Hong Kong to Korea to Japan, everyone has different jurisdictions, and we all have different codes and different like rules and all that. And the way our regulators operate will not make sense to you usually. I mean, for instance, like we don't understand at all how the Japanese regulators are working. We don't understand like how even ourselves, like as a Korean, like I don't even understand how the Korean regulators are making like the decisions. So for the outside, I think is probably more difficult. So you might want to actually take a step back when you're trying to like hunt down the Asian institutions as a validator or as a founder. Like you might want to actually like take some time. Whereas when you're looking at the Asian market as a founder or doing crypto project, you might actually want to understand and try to like craft strategy like looking at this like liquid market for the retails, and then you come up with a strategy that can actually buy the hearts of the retails, and then like with that strategy like come up with the tactics that will be able to like go into those crowds. I mean, it could be KOLs that you could be targeting, or it could be different as well. On the staking side, I think from my experiences, a lot of the Asian populations, including whales that we have been that have been staking with us, they really want liquidity so much that their duration or life expiration of them as a client is very short compared to the US players or the Western players that we have as our stakers. So you also might want to take into the account when you're actually targeting them as a validator or as someone who's providing the staking services. Yeah, I think, throughout my 2.5 years of experiences as an APAC validator or Korean validator, the most difficult part was playing two sides. One was that leveraging the liquidity of the region while at the same time, facing and interacting first-handedly the difficulty of all the stakers that are so going to that are striving towards the liquid part of their assets. So it was pretty difficult, and I don't think it's gonna be resolved in any time soon. And also the regulation clarity in the Asian Pacific market in general, also very cloudy, and it will take a lot of times. And it has to do with politics for sure. Like Korea, for example, the president's approval rating is 16%. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets impeached. All the administration's policies that have been set up for the crypto and all that will probably crumble once the president gets impeached, or if the president gets changed, or even if he stays, he's a dead duck, not even a lame duck. So policies drive the regulations, but those policies uncertainty is pretty high in the region as well. So you might want to take those into account as well. I mean, even in Japan too, the politics is a little complicated for now. So I think that's the 2 cents that I want to share. So if you want really the Asian market, I would urge you to try to learn the country first, culture first, and then their social political circumstances, and then tap into the market. I would highly recommend you to do so. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.